Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a Christmas card to share with you using the latest You've Got Mail from Mama Elephant. So I decided to create a Christmas card on some Neenah Dessert Storm. It has been a while since I used this paper to color on, but it always has such a warm end result because of this brown paper, of course, that I really wanted to try it again. And now, as you saw, I laid the images out how I wanted my scene to look. And I first stamped the images that are going to be in front of the scene. Now, this tiny bunny is slightly overlapping with another stamp set, with another stamp that I want to use from this stamp set, being the mailbox. So all I have to do to create a one-layer card is to create a mask. And so I stamped the bunny again on some full stick post-it notes, fussy cut it out, and now I can lay down that stamp that I want to add as well. I need to adhere that mask right on top of the bunny, and then I can stamp out that final image for my scene here. So I'm just using the same black ink. This one is the Obsidian from Gina K Designs Amalgam ink, which is great for Copic coloring. Now, since that mask is slightly higher up, I had some difficulties with stamping a crisp image just around that blue bunny. So I'm just making sure that I have all of those lines crisp by going over it with this Copic multi-liner. And then I can remove that mask. I'm keeping that in the back of my stamp set. You never know when you have to use it again. And then I am going to just heat set this a slight bit, and then I will get going on the Copic coloring. So I'm starting with the squirrel. If you want to revisit combinations later on, as always, they are listed on my blog post, and there is always a link towards that specific post in the description box down below. I am coloring from darkest to lightest, as always. Just something that you might want to keep in mind when coloring on this paper is that although it can handle quite a lot, well, it can handle Copics, it's not the same as, for me at least, as the Translucent Perfect coloring paper. So I try to have two layers here. If I need to do ton of blending, more layers, or if I'm heavy blending because of a certain color family that needs that, I would suggest to heat set that in between, to just let that paper sit a bit, to let it dry, to let it settle, and then continue with your coloring. Okay, so here onto the bunny. Both bunnies will have exactly the same color combination. Although it is on brown paper, it is not exactly the combination as I am used to having with my Copics, but they still work. But in case you want to go really dark, just keep in mind that this paper is already a bit darker than just white. So just keep that in mind while choosing your markers. If you're unsure, then you can always do a test run, of course, or do a bit of swatching before you decide on your colors. I am also going to show this coloring, or almost exactly the same coloring, once with white paper, just in case you're curious, but it's completely different, I can assure you. This weekend I created a few cards with this amazing stamp set, and I hope to be able to share them throughout the month of October. I don't know yet when I will be able to edit and which cards will get in front of them. But I'm really excited about this stamp set. I love the illustrations from Ida Zamora. She's incredible. And I always know that when there is September month from Mama Elephant, I crack. I just cannot handle the cuteness. Their anniversary release, or their Christmas release as well, it's the same one. It always blows my mind, and yeah, I cannot resist. So I bought this one. I also bought the Falala stamp set, which is also incredible. I hope to be creating with that stem set soon, but so far no cards yet, but you will see them if I create one. So here the coloring from the two bunnies, I just want to point it out here, for me at least, that one bunny is already a bit more dry than the latest one, and it just became a bit more vibrant once it dried back a tiny bit on the paper, in my opinion. That really helps as well. Now the combination here from the back I'm also going to use on the bear. I really wanted to use all brown tones, so I didn't went for, well, I did went for gray. I must admit, for the mailbox I did some warm grays, but I really wanted this warm card, completely like the background, the images, so browns it is. So I'm just making sure on the back to emphasize a bit more those lines, pull them a bit further than how they are drawn, and then it just gives so much more depth and dimension. So here onto the mailbox, I am just making sure that I'm working my way from W5 to 3 to 2. Really simple, just doing some flicking. I'm also going to go back in there to do a second layer, excuse me, and then I will work my way further throughout all of the rest of the images. Another thing that I tried to do was to have some sort of a light source centered on this panel. So that's why my images on the right side are having their shadows on the right side. The images on the left side are having their shadows on the left side. And then of course the back, there is that one bunny leaning against, so that is also creating a bit of shadowing. So as I said, the same accent color everywhere, red here. I will also use it on the sentiment, which is just Christmas, like head. But I just, at this point, I didn't know yet what I was going to use as sentiment. You can definitely stamp out a sentiment from this stamp set or one from the other stamp sets that you have. I left tons of space underneath to really have enough wiggle room to put whatever I wanted. If I would have used a sentiment just like a stamp, I would have centered this scene a bit more. So now it's really high up and I have this amazing space left to add a big reading or big word as I am going to do, but otherwise I would have placed it a bit more downwards, that scene. So here the same combination as on the back, as I said previously. I'm just creating this really warm bear. I wanted to have a ton of difference in between those three browns that I was going to use on this pile of critters. So therefore I really went completely in different directions with the darkest colors. But also that E33, it's in all of them, just if you didn't notice. So definitely stretch your markers by buying how you can extend your current combinations. Then on the bird here, I'm just using like this really soft combination that I had laying around by coloring the bunnies. That will also soften a bit more. Now it's really wet on that paper, but it will dry a bit lighter. And then I decided to just take this pink and just flick a bit here and there to give a bit of shadowing to those envelopes. And then I also ended up using this pink to create some grounding, which I didn't intend to do in pink actually, but it's really turned out really neutral on this paper. So I thought, why don't I use it for that? So I'm just making sure I have that light source centered, so the shadow is going to be behind the bear as well as behind the bag and a bit underneath the bunny. So that was the whole thought process. And then I thought every time that I stopped adding. It sort of dried a bit back, as I also said, for the images, and so I went over it a few times to really have that shadow there. I'm not a pro in adding shadows, definitely not with Copics underneath images. I think it's really daunting, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's really subtle, but there is some shadowing going on, and that was what I intended to have. You can also do some ink blending if you want to, even on this paper, but I really wanted to keep it in the Copics. So since I have this one layered card, I only had to figure out the sentiment, and so I ended up taking this modern serif alphabet from my favorite things, and I decided to die cut Xmas from Christmas. I'm going to die cut it out of Cranberry cardstock, which is my favorite red. It's a deep red cardstock by Concord and Ninth. And so once I had die cut that, I just had to place it on top of this card, and it's almost done, you know. I didn't cut everything loose on this die, so I just had to do that for this card. You can also put some tiny pieces of paper on top, which I did previously every time I used it. Now to align the Christmas, I am just lining it up on my grid mat. From time to time, I just make sure to put something against it and really have everything lined straight. Then I take my purple tape. That way I have it all straight, ready to go. Just need some liquid glue, a T-square ruler, or again that triangle there to help me get it aligned centered and straight as well on this panel. So I'm almost there, almost finished this card. It's a really sweet one, but I think that's all because of the amazing stems. So once I have this Christmas on top here, I'm just making sure that it is sticking, and then I will remove the purple tape really slowly and keep those letters still a tiny bit in place with my fingers. And then I decided that it just wasn't finished yet completely. There are tons of great card makers out there that are adding these amazing white jelly roll highlights thingies. It scares me, so I don't do that, but today I did some highlights on all of the eyes, really cute, and then I added this panel on top of a card base. I'm just using some adhesive roller here, and that is going to be my card for today. My first card using the amazing You've Got Mail. I truly adore this stamp set. Again, if you don't have the dies, you can perfectly make one layer cards. Also, these images are so cute. They can stand on their own as well, in my opinion. You do you, whatever you want to create. I would love to see it if I can. I want to thank you all for stopping by, taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you got inspired, and I wish you all an incredible day, and I'll be back soon. Bye!